Hi, kindergartners. Today we're going to read chapter 7 in Night of the Ninjas. In chapter 6, we learned that Jack and Annie had a conversation with the Ninja Master, and he was going to help them learn how to get back to the treehouse. But he's not going to lead them there. They're going to have to find their own way without the help of the ninjas. So let's see if they can use the Ninja Master's advice to find their way back to the treehouse. Chapter 7 is called To the East. Today when I read, I'm really going to try to visualize what's happening in the story. Jack and Annie are going to be doing some things that maybe you've never done before. So we're going to have to use our thinking voice and really think about, what does this look like that Jack and Annie are doing? It may not be something that you've ever done before, having to find your way through nature. Let's get started reading. Chapter 7, To the East. Jack and Annie stood still for a long moment. Annie spoke first. "Well, I guess the tall ninja was pointing to the east," she said. "I guess that's the way we go." "Wait," said Jack. "I need to write some stuff down." He took out his notebook. Go ahead and take out your notebook too. Pretend like you're writing this. In the moonlight, he wrote. Here's what the Ninja Master told us to do. 1. Use nature. 2. Be nature. 3. Follow nature. Now, let's take a minute and think about it. Nature. What is nature? Nature is all of the things that we see where? Inside or outside? Outside. So the things that live and grow outside are part of nature. Have you ever had to use nature, or have you ever used it for fun? Maybe you've played with things that are outside. I wonder if Jack and Annie have that same experience, whether they've done a lot of things in nature. I've never had to be nature before though, so I'm curious what they're going to do next. Let's keep reading to find out. "Look, Jack," whispered Annie. "Do I look like a ninja?" He looked at her. She had pulled her sweatshirt hood over her head and tied the strings tightly. She did look like a ninja, a very small one. "Good idea," Jack whispered. He pulled his hood up too. "Okay, let's go," said Annie. Jack put his notebook away, then he and Annie headed east into the woods. They slipped between the trees, and more trees, and more trees. All the trees looked the same. Oh no. Jack got confused. Were they still going in the right direction? "Wait," he said. Annie stopped. They both stared at the woods around them. I can definitely visualize this part. I'm going to stop for a second. I know what it looks like to be around lots of trees. So I'm imagining in my head, I'm visualizing that Jack and Annie are in between all these trees. And it said in the book, and when I read it in my reading voice, that all the trees looked the same. So in my mind, I'm visualizing, I'm thinking about how all the trees look the same, and it's making me confused. I don't know which way to go. Let's keep reading and see if they can figure it out. They both stared at the woods around them. "Do you think we're still going east?" asked Jack. "I guess so," said Annie. "We can't just guess," said Jack. "We have to know for sure." "How do we do that?" said Annie. "We don't have a compass." Oh my goodness. Right away that made me think of something. When else did we learn about the compass? When we learned about pirates, right? Pirates use a compass to find where to go. And a compass tells us which way is north, south, west, or east. Do Jack and Annie have a compass? No, so they're going to have to figure out a different way to figure out east. We don't have a compass. Just then, the master's words came back to Jack. The Ninja Master said to use nature, he said. "How do we do that?" said Annie. "Wait, I remember something." Jack closed his eyes. Can you close your eyes too? It sounds like he's going to visualize just like we do. He remembered something in a camping book. Now, what was it? He opened his eyes. "I've got it. First, we need a stick. Annie picked up a stick. Here, she said. We're gonna have to visualize this just like Jack. Here's a stick. Great. Now we just need a space with moonlight, said Jack. There, said Annie. They moved into a moonlit space between the shadows. Now push the stick into the ground, Jack said. Annie pushed the stick into the ground. The stick's shadow looks like it's more than 6 inches, said Jack. What do you think? Looks like it, said Annie. I gotta stop and think for a second. What I just read is not something I've ever heard of doing before. Jack had Annie take a stick over to the moonlight and look at its shadow, and that's gonna tell him which direction to go. Good thing Jack knows a lot about nature because that's not something that I knew. Did you know how to do that? Sometimes we learn something brand new from the books that we read, and this is something I've never heard before. Let's keep reading to find out if it works to find which direction to go. The stick's shadow looks like it's more than 6 inches. It looks like it, said Annie. Okay, then that means the shadow is pointing east, said Jack. Neat, said Annie. So that way is east. Jack pointed to a new direction. At least, I hope it is. We're real ninjas now, said Annie. Yep, said Jack, maybe we are. Come on. They took off, heading east, they hoped. Soon they were out of the pine woods and walking down the rocky mountainside. They moved slowly from rock to rock. Finally, they rested against a giant rock. Let's check our direction again, said Jack. They're going to use nature again. Annie stuck another stick in the dirt. There, she said. He pointed to the shadow on the ground. That way. Annie peeked over the rock down the mountain. Yikes, she said softly. Jack looked too. His heart nearly stopped. There were flames of fire coming up the mountain. Can you visualize that? In my mind, I see the fire. It's coming up the mountain. The samurai! Jack and Annie ducked behind a rock. Squeak, said the mouse. Quiet, Peanut, said Annie. Jack reached into his pack. He pulled out the ninja book. I hope something in here can help us, he said. Jack flipped through page after page until he found what he was looking for. It was a picture of warriors wearing bamboo armor. They were holding swords. He read, the samurai were fierce Japanese fighters. They carried 2 swords to cut down their enemies. Annie tapped Jack on the shoulder. Jack looked at her. She pointed up the mountain. A figure was coming down toward them. He was very near. In the moonlight, his bamboo armor was shining. His 2 swords were gleaming. It was a samurai warrior. And if you've never seen a samurai warrior before, you may not be able to visualize this. Luckily, the illustrator put a picture in. Is that somebody you'd want to meet if you were by yourself in the woods? I'm not sure I'd want to meet a samurai warrior. That's the end of the chapter. The author always leaves us wanting to know more about what's going to happen next. For my picture today, for my story timeline card, I tried to draw a picture of that samurai warrior. I'm going to be honest with you, this was a difficult one for me to draw. Maybe it will be easy for you to draw if you decide to draw the samurai warrior also. But maybe it might be a little tricky, and that's okay. We just do our best. Or maybe you want to write about how Jack and Annie found which way was east using Jack's really cool trick. Remember what he used? He used a stick and some light to see the stick's shadow. And if it was more than 6 inches, it was pointing east. That's a trick that I never knew before. Good thing Jack is so smart and reads so many books and has so much knowledge in his head. What are you going to write about today, friends? Can't wait to see what you decide.